Week 3 of the college football season is upon us, and this is Tupelo Sports Comm Kickoff here to preview it for you. I'm Zach Zimmerman alongside Mason Ballard and Andrew Bison.
Getting started with Toledo versus Mississippi State. The Rockets come in at 2-0, while the Bulldogs are 1-1 with a Week 2 loss and a close one versus Arizona State.
These two teams have not met before. Toledo came off with a nice win last week versus UMass. Mississippi State's first-year head coach Jeff Lebby needs to show that he can bounce back from close losses.
Toledo lost a key piece in quarterback Daquan Finn as he transfers to Baylor, so it'll be important to see how his replacement performs against the SEC matchup.
Mississippi State basically revamped their entire roster this offseason. Baylor transfer Blake Shapen has already proven he can sling the rock in this new system. Through 2 games, Shapen has thrown for 515 yards and 5 touchdowns. Jordan Mosley has recently had to step into the wide receiver 1 role and has done a fantastic job so far, hauling in 9 catches for 182 yards and a touchdown.
3 things to watch in this one will be if State can change the 3-man front. Last week versus Arizona State, they really pounded the ground, and State didn't really have an answer for it, so it'll be interesting to see if they can make some adjustments on that D-line.
The Sun Devils took a chance early, and we'll see if Toledo can do the same, and we'll see if they'll put it on the ground with their run game. Our last key to the game is if State can affect Toledo with their tempo and offense. Jeff Lebby has always been known for running a fast offense with a veer and shoot. We'll see if Blake Shapen and his offense can keep it going.
I think big players to watch in this one will be Kelly Akar. He's returning from injury, played sparsely in Week 2 versus Arizona State, was absent in Week 1, so he's projected to be a wide receiver 1 for the State offense. So it'll be interesting to see how he'll perform as 100% back.
And for the Rockets, it's quarterback Tucker Gleason who can do things in the air and on the ground as a dual threat quarterback. Last week he had an average run of 11.5 yards, so we'll see what he can do.
And the final key player for this matchup will be Kevin Coleman, another elusive Mississippi State wide receiver who transferred in from Louisville last year. He's been effective not only in the slot but punt returning as well, so it'd be interesting to see how many times they can get him the ball and in space.
And now for our game predictions for this week. I'm going to go with the Bulldogs 53-10.
Yeah, Zach, I'm going to have to agree with you. Hail State 55-24 as State bounces back from a big-time loss.
I'm going to go Blake Shapen throws for 300 yards, including 3 touchdowns as State gets the win 38-20.
So moving on to the Alabama versus Wisconsin game, I'm JP. This is Tanner beside me.
The number 4 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide will be traveling to Wisconsin for Week 3 of the college football season. Both of them are 2-0 to start the season.
So last year, Alabama completed a 12-2 season, losing to Michigan in the college football semifinal. After last season, of course, legendary head coach Nick Saban retires. With a new head coach, Kalen DeBoer, Alabama looks forward to another great winning season for the program. Coming off a not-so-pretty win against USF, Alabama will be looking to execute better this week against Wisconsin. They had a very slow start, but late in the fourth quarter, they finally found their rhythm.
Yeah, last year, Wisconsin had a pretty average season going 7-6. They made a bowl game but lost to LSU 35-31. Over the offseason, they added Miami transfer quarterback Tyler Van Dyke. He looks to already have adapted to the new offense but hasn't really been tested yet. Wisconsin with a 27-13 victory over South Dakota last week. They have started off 2-0 but haven't really had a tough week, but they have a tough week ahead of them. Some players to watch for the Badgers are wide receiver Will Pauling. Pauling has 10 receptions for 108 yards through 2 games. Hunter Wohler leads the team on defense with 10 solo tackles and 5 assists.
Some players to watch for Alabama are true freshman wide receiver Ryan Williams. He is 17 years old. He should be in high school right now, and he is out there catching passes from Jalen Milrow. So far, he leads the team with 207 receiving yards. To go along with that, he has 3 touchdowns on this year. On defense, Jahad Campbell, a junior linebacker from Ariel, New Jersey. He's the leader in tackles. He has 20 tackles this year and has half a sack.
This is going to be a test for Wisconsin. They face their first-ranked opponent. After Alabama, they face USC, Penn State, and Oregon, so this will kind of hint at how the rest of the season can go.
So last week, penalties hurt the Tide against USF. Most of the penalties were by the O-linemen, having 2 touchdowns called back from them. DeBoer should have a special game plan this week to eliminate all penalties. I think if DeBoer takes time and practice this week to focus on changing the mentality of the team, then Alabama will have an easy win and will be able to go into the bye week getting ready for the Georgia Bulldogs. I'm taking Alabama winning 48-17.
I think if Alabama doesn't continue the same mistakes, they can blow past Wisconsin. I think this final score can probably be 35-14, but Alabama might have a slow start again, continuing the trend.
And now to bump it up to the pro level of football, we've got a big matchup this week, the NFC wildcard playoff rematch. Buccaneers travel to Detroit to play the Lions, and the Buccaneers are coming off a 37-20 win over the Commanders, where they held Jaden Daniels to less than 200 passing yards. Guys who had big games for them include Baker Mayfield, 289 yards and 4 touchdowns. And for the Lions, they're also 1-0, coming off an OT win over the Rams. David Montgomery with the game-winning touchdown. Jared Goff, 217 yards, a touchdown, and lone interception. Jamison Williams looked like he started to get more involved as he enters his third year now. 3 things to watch for this game are going to be those Lions receivers. Jamison Williams, like I said, looked to be the guy, while Amon-Ra St. Brown, who many have predicted to have a huge season, only had 3 catches for 13 yards against the Rams. And for the Buccaneers, it's going to be who gets the ball on offense. Baker Mayfield had 30 passing attempts, spread out to 7 different guys, and they all had 2 targets. So it's going to be interesting who gets the ball. Baker Mayfield to Rashad White, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. And lastly, this game could very well come down to the kickers. You've got Jake Bates, a rookie for the Detroit Lions, signed out of the UFL this offseason, was dominant in the spring league, but now how will that talent translate to the NFL? And for the Buccaneers, you've got Chase McLaughlin in his 6th season. The question is, who do you trust more to win the game? And now 2 players to watch for the Lions. It's going to be Carlton Davis.
Davis is in his 7th season after spending 6 with Tampa Bay. It will be interesting to see how he plays against the team that just traded him just a few months ago.
And for the Buccaneers, it's going to be Mike Evans.
Yeah, Evans is in his 11th season. Evans had one of the best years of his career with Baker Mayfield in 2023. Only 6 targets in the season opener. Will Mayfield rely on his trusted target or continue to spread out the ball?
And now for our predictions. Give me the Lions 31-27. Amon-Ra St. Brown has a breakout performance with 150 yards and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'll have to agree with you, Andrew. I like the Lions 35-17. I like Aiden Hutchinson to be in the backfield a lot and disrupt the Buccaneers offense.
I'm going to keep the trend going and go Lions 20-17. I think Jared Goff plays a clean game and the Lions scratch it up.
Continuing with our picks, I'm Mitchell Ray. This is Sam Molchi.
First game we're going to cover here is Maryland versus UVA. The 1-1 Maryland Terps are currently confident, running off a 13-game non-conference win streak. Virginia, on the other hand, is fresh off a huge conference win over Wake Forest. Though the big win over the Demon Deacons, UVA is coming in as a slight underdog. The Terps currently lead the historical series versus the Cavaliers by 13 wins. Mitchell, what are some things you think to keep an eye on here for this game?
Maryland and Virginia both struggled with turnovers and penalties in the first weeks of the season. Discipline will be a huge part in deciding this game.
Talking about offenses, neither team has gotten the run game going the past 2 weeks. With this being seen, expect to see a heavy load of passes and quarterback options this Saturday. This might lead to more turnovers, but both teams will lean on it. Key players to watch this weekend. Maryland's senior wide receiver, Ty Felton. He's run off to a hot start, leading the FBS in receiving yards. Along with him, their junior quarterback, Billy Edwards Jr., is one of few that have over 300 yards with no interceptions. This combination could cause big problems for the Virginia defense. Virginia's sophomore quarterback, Anthony Colandrea. He already looks like a college vet. He's thrown for over 650 yards in 2 games and finds a way to stay composed while doing so. Don't fail to see that he could also be a sneaky threat on the run game as well. And Virginia's wide receiver, Malachi Fields. He has been a much-needed tool for this Virginia offense these past few years. He's led the team in receiving yards in both of the games this season, and he's looking to lead them in receiving yards this next game as well.
This will be a tight matchup and has game of the week potential as the Terps travel to Scott Stadium in Charlottesville, Virginia, home of the Cavaliers. The game kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern on ACC Network.
Talking about picks, I'm a big fan of this Virginia squad. Seeing last week, they've got a lot of grit on their team, and I think they come through and pull over Maryland and 1 or 2 possession win.
Sam, I really do like Virginia, but in this one, I think I'm going to take Maryland by a touchdown.
Fair enough.
Moving to the SEC, 1-1 Texas A&M will be on the road this weekend in a hostile environment against 1-1 Florida. They both lost in Week 1 against tough opponents and are looking to better their schedule and get their first SEC win of the season. Texas A&M's Mike Elko is in his first season there and is facing a lot of high expectations, as well as Billy Napier in his 3rd season at Florida and is experiencing some trouble with one of the hardest schedules in all of college football.
Talking about statistics, Texas A&M has 775 total yards of offense, and Florida has 893 yards. Florida averages 31 points through 2 games, while A&M averages 32.5. Texas A&M hasn't given up any turnovers, but Florida has, which could be a deciding factor in this matchup.
Players to look out for are Connor Wegman for Texas A&M and DJ Lagway for Florida. Wegman wasn't used that much against McNeese, so it's still to be determined how much better he can be in Texas A&M's new offense. Lagway, the true freshman, passed for 456 yards in the win against Stanford. A nice tune-up game for potentially seeing action against Texas A&M to kick off SEC play.
What are your picks for this week?
And this one I got Texas A&M as they're favored by 4.5.
I think it's going to be tough in the swamp, but I think Texas A&M is going to prevail. I think they got it.